Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Thursday. It's the 14th, what is it, the 15th actually of March 2012. Let's take a look at this market. We had another up day. The S&P 500 gained a 0.5%, and I've got this nice pattern of higher highs and higher lows above the rising 5-day moving average. The daily chart, we continue to see, again, I was talking about this with someone today, and these lines were left on here, but the 138 level was our target from the inverted head and shoulders pattern. We stumbled a little bit there. That got us cautious as it broke down through 136, but from this failed move lower came this fast move higher that we're still enjoying here. And when we back it out to the weekly time frame, it looks like the next big potential level of resistance would be found at about 144, 144 and a half. As we know, that's just a potential level, but it is important to see that it has had prior significance in terms of support and resistance. So that could be where this market is heading. We spoke about that earlier in the week, and it certainly looks like a viable target. The more important support levels near term, I would say, are probably right here at about 140, $140.40, and then just down at about 139 and a half. Those are the key levels we want to see hold. I don't think breaking below either of them would be reason to rush out and call a top. We know what's been happening. Anyone who's been calling a top in anything, Todd Apple. Anyways, the Nasdaq also was up a little bit, about a third of a percentage point, and continues to move higher with a more important near-term support. Should be found just above $66 a share, and we continue to ramp higher. We don't have to talk in depth over and over about it. Russell 2000 is battling this 83 level still, and you know it would probably be a good thing to see a little bit further buildup of energy in here. But the 82 level is our near-term important support to hold. As long as we remain above that, we do give the benefit of the doubt to the buyers. The daily chart is looking like it's ready to bust loose. So you know, and then where we would go from there potentially is up near about $87 a share. Semiconductors continue to rally in this market, as we know, got it back above that important 34 and a half level, and that's still our more important area to hold above, and we have potential for a little resistance at 35.50 ish, but above that the next potential level will be close to $36 a share, and then the highs for last year. The financials had a nice percentage move, up 1.75%, and I've left these lines on, and look how well this market is doing. It's just going from this prior resistance up to the next level, and here we are. So we look at this and say, this was our target for the next potential area for this one to go, and the market just isn't slowing down. It's holding support levels, and here I think that maybe we look at the 3 to 4 day volume weighted average price. 3 days about 1540, and that looks like an important level because that's where we gapped higher from. So I think 1540 would be a good near term level, and then 1530 to 1540. Anyways, we're innocent until proven guilty in all these markets. We don't have to go on and on and on about them. The ACHN tried to get going in here a little bit today. It broke this resistance and got up just beyond daily R2, and again, it's always a good place to take a little bit off. It had a sharp sell-off from there, but then did kind of fail here towards the end of the day. So if you're still involved in this one, I'd say worst case stop 1058-ish. I would still keep it on the list for tomorrow, and maybe it's going to need to actually clear the highs from last week to get it moving. But it's just a nice tight consolidation on this daily time frame that I think it's capable of a bigger move. But again, remember, it's a biotech, and we don't know anything about it, so that's kind of a little deterrent for holding positions overnight, or at least any meaningful size position. SSN, I was talking about this in chat. I had bought some yesterday and held it overnight. It's not getting above this 265 to 266 level, but it is and I sold mine today because oil started selling off. This thing, I was early in it. I don't know why I got involved early. Really probably needs to clear the 265, 266 level. But anyways, it's not going yet. It still has a good looking chart. And then there's news that we couldn't quite figure out whether they had done an offering on March 6th, and maybe they did on some foreign exchange, but there's kind of a question of whether there's some shares that were announced to be offered. So I figured there was too much indecision to hold a stock that hasn't proven itself yet. I would still set an alert probably at 265 and then decide whether or not to get involved in it. It traded light volume today, but average volume is about 1.5 million shares. Coinstar seems like it's getting tired. I'm not as thrilled about this one anymore. We have the lower highs and we're holding support, but it just seems tired in here. So I'm not going to continue to really watch this one. I might have it on my board just for the heck of it, but 62.25 would be the worst case stop at this point. Rack Space they got nice movement in here today. There was a decent trade in there, and it got almost exactly to. It went through a little bit, but got up through that daily R2 level. So again, this is why we watch those pivots and R2. We saw that it got back above the VWAP after testing the pivot level, and then ran straight to daily R2. So good movement in there. And I'm sorry, back to Racks. If you're still in it, I would say a stop probably just below or about $56 a share. It has kind of moved from 52 to 50, close to 57, 52 and a half to 56 and a half. So it's it's about 10% or so recently, 8% maybe. Anyways, it's I wouldn't be looking for new entries necessarily unless you're looking just for a day trade. Clearwire didn't give us a reason to get involved. This 225 seems to be an important level, and I think that maybe you set an alert around 223, but no reason to continue to watch this one very carefully. But do set the alert so you have it on your board just in case it gets going. Triple D did get going. This one. Pulled back down towards that pivot in the 2-day volume weighted average price, had a good movement. I didn't trade this one, but if you were in this, I would say stop just below $23 a share in triple D. Elan Tech, or Elan Pharmaceutical rather, here blasted right through daily R2, and as I think Sean was saying, it looks like it's going to go to daily R7. But anyways, this was a nice mover in here today. Obviously, it got beyond that little resistance we were talking about and had a real nice run. If you're still holding it, I would say worst case stop at about 1365. At the end of the day in chat, I had mentioned that this daily chart here, look how it's was kind of coiling with the 10 and 20-day moving average in between that 50. This stock looks pretty good for tomorrow, which is CRIS. It traded only 285,000 shares today, and it's another biotech, so be aware of that. But look how it's coiling between, this, on the bottom, the 10 and 20-day, and the 50-day just above. So it looks very similar, in other words, to Elan did before today's movement. So if we go back to Chris, we'll just talk about this one for another moment. The weekly chart looks bullish. This prior resistance holding a support, and on that monthly time frame, it's still got some room, it appears. So I'm not sure exactly where it goes, but maybe 470 is the key level for that it's going to need to break. But anyways, I would keep an eye on CRIS. Back to the ones we were looking at, GSM. This one's still not broken out, but it's behaving well, and it's kind of on pre-breakout watch. I was in it for a little bit today, but then kind of decided, I don't know why I'm looking for this to go quite yet. I'm not as thrilled about it, but I do like the way it's set up, and it has some room to run, perhaps up to the 200-day moving average. So I'd say still keep an eye on it. Where to get involved is tricky at this point, so I don't have any specifics. MGM was a nice trade today, and this stock came initially right up to that daily R2, and this is what's good about that, is feeding a little bit out at that level. It feels good after it pulls right back. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to be the high for the day. Obviously, we saw that in Elan as well. But MGM is still behaving well, and looks like it held the VWAP right at the end of the day. So I'd say a worst case stop probably at about $14.50 on MGM. Yandex, I did buy some of this today. I got a little bit antsy on this. Probably should have waited for $24.20, and I even held it too. So hopefully, only a small position, but it's not quite there. I think it probably needs to to break above $24.20. So keep that one on the watch list for tomorrow. Because I have a small position size, I would probably add to it above 24.20 tomorrow. Other ideas to keep an eye on, of course, like I said, Chris. Fleur, I'd mentioned this one last week as having a neat little inverted head and shoulders pattern here in the 65-minute time frame, and you can see that this neckline, maybe it needs to get above 26.5. It's really not broken yet. You could say, well, it's really in a range. It's pre-breakout. But here's our inverted head and shoulders pattern. You can see the neckline is right in here, and maybe we get a run to the 200-day moving average up near about 27 bucks. So it's not a top-notch idea, but it looks good. It's got good liquidity. Again, I'd say alert right up in here about 26.5. Worst case stop would be below whatever this pullback low is, so maybe $26.20. In other words, it looks like pretty good risk reward. We've got the higher low with a rising 5-day moving average, and could get a nice little surge off of this, up to that 200-day moving average. Impacts Laboratories, we've spoken about this one last week, and it kind of settled back in. The weekly chart looks nice, still has some room to run, probably up to at least 25 bucks a share, I'd say. And that 30 minutes chart has kind of straightened itself out in here. We're getting beyond last week's highs. We're close to it. I think back above today's high is where this stock could get going. So today's high was $23.85. Back up through $23.85. Stop maybe at about $23.60. Looks like it's beginning to get a little bit of momentum that could carry it close to 24.5, 25 bucks a share. JVA, I know some of you guys have been watching this one, and we were watching it yesterday as it made lower highs and lower lows. Unfortunately, it gapped higher today, but it held the gains really nicely. And if we put a volume weighted average price on it since this gap higher, you can see we're still holding above it, rather, is what I meant to say. No, I was thinking of something else. Anyways, the 2-day volume weighted average price, the 3-day, we're back above. I think back up through 14 bucks a share, or maybe even today's high, which was 14.08. Back up through this level, that it's worth a nice little momentum trade. Worst case stop $13.30. I think you could probably even get away with maybe 13.50ish if you wanted to control it a little bit tighter. But this is going to be mainly for people who have more of a day trader's mentality. Keep that in mind. Another one kind of on pre-breakout watch would be the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, NDAQ. Nice longer base here on the weekly time frame. It's above the rising 50, 100, 150, and 200-day moving average. It's got some resistance in here near about 27 bucks a share recently. 26.85. It's tough to say exactly where to buy this. Maybe above the high for the week, 26.86ish. But do keep an eye on this one. It's starting to look like it could be setting up for a nicer move up towards that $30 level. That is the highs from last year, and still, a lot of energy built up here on that weekly chart. Nuva got going in here today. I think we were talking about this one last week, but it gapped up and. Anyways, it gapped up and made a nice run. It pulled back. It had a nice pullback, that is. Got back above the volume weighted average price. So I think even above this afternoon's high of 1672-ish, it could go with a worst case stop just below the afternoon low of 1630. SCEI, this is the one I was thinking of, the volume weighted average price since the event, and we're just below it on SCEI. Now this is an alternative energy play, and I believe they're in China. I'm not sure, but anyways, you look at the weekly chart. It's still got it's a nice looking chart. I mean, it's got some room, maybe up to 4.5. That daily chart, you can see big volume move. We're above the 50, 100, 150, 200, etc. And a lighter volume pullback. It's begun to stabilize on a little bit heavier volume here the last couple days. 1.3 million shares today brings it right about in line with the 20-day moving average of volume. And I think you get it back above today's high. We're back above the 5-day moving average. This little pattern of lower highs and lower lows is is now replaced with this higher high, and here we have this higher low. I think up through today's high that a stop would go about 255. Today's high was 275, so 20 cents of risk. And I think you're going to see this stock be able to surge up towards at least $3.50 a share, maybe up to $4. Tesla, don't keep your take your eyes off of this thing. It's one of those stocks that gets real volatile because there's a big short position in it, and those guys are super stubborn. But they could get in a lot of trouble here if this thing really gets going. It made a new high this week. It pulled back. If you look at the volume weighted average price since the event in here, so since this movement, we're just below it and finding a little resistance there. But up through today's high, I think that could make the higher high that could get people once again interested in this. So 34.48 was today's high. If it does that, worst case stop at about 34.70ish, and Tesla could be a big mover with that short position, but it's very squirrely, I guess you could say. So don't make the mistake of trading too many shares and being blinded by greed, because the volatility will probably get you emotional and shake you out of that position. Take two came back here today a little bit quicker than I had expected, so that's good, and threatening to break out past 15.98, $16 a share. So I think up through the highs of this week, which are these highs right here, so 15.99, 16, up through $16 a share, it looks good with a stop near 15.80.